Hi everyone. Welcome to part 2 of the Papa. Hopefully you enjoyed last week's video. If you didn't see it, I definitely watch that before you watch this, because I'm not going to bother explaining anything about the story. You have to watch part 1. Um, Hopefully you're still interested. I think this is where the story starts to get even weirder. Um, where we left off last week, Tristan had just stabbed John in a dream, and then he woke up and came down and realized nothing actually happened, but then he started insulting him, and somehow a stab wound magically appeared on his chest, right where he was stabbed in the dream. So that's the last thing we heard. Um, let's just continue. Chapter 5, The Warm Milk. Don't you think it's more likely that the dream came after you stabbed him? You can recall two different versions of this event, and you believe one of them is a dream, but how would you have been able to dream about this before it happened? I think you stabbed him, which would explain the stab wound and which would explain his stab wound and his blood on the knife. Then you passed out and imagined a different version of events to cope with the situation. Tristan thought carefully about his lawyer's words before responding. No, you're right. I know it doesn't make sense, and I can't expect to convince anyone otherwise. I don't even know what I believe anymore. I feel like I can't trust myself. It was determined that Tristan had murdered John and was not mentally fit to stand trial, so he was sent to a psychiatric facility for treatment. Tristan finally felt safe for the first time since he found John in the closet, but that feeling only lasted a few weeks. He couldn't shake the feeling that he was being watched. He felt like he was never alone, and it was even worse at night. He kept waking up at 3 a.m., convinced that he had heard a noise. One morning, he noticed a stain on his bedsheet that hadn't been there when he went to sleep. He told the staff to check the security footage, but they were dismissive of the whole thing. One night, he decided to try and stay awake until 3 a.m. to see if he could figure out what had been waking him up. It was 2:55 when he saw the doorknob turn. He was terrified and unsure what to do. He wanted to hide, but there was no time. He considered pretending to be asleep, but ultimately decided to confront the creep who'd been presumably watching him sleep. He watched in horror as the door opened.
Little buddy, you're supposed to be asleep.
Tristan couldn't believe his eyes. The man he killed was standing in his doorway, talking to him like nothing happened. How are you alive? Tristan asked. John said,
Listen here, buddy, Mr. Little. Your wickedness extends far beyond the realm of samples. I have no more depth than the white cat left burning in the moonlight.
Tristan sat and blinked for a few moments, trying to figure out what to think. He eventually said, I was actually starting to think I was getting my sanity back, but you just proved me wrong. I'm either completely insane, or I'm looking at some supernatural freak. John approached the bed, sat down in the chair, and said,
Now, we don't use words like that. That offends me.
He was about to drink what was in the coffee cup before Tristan knocked it out of his hand. The cup broke and milk spilled everywhere. John had a look of abject terror on his face. He flew out of the chair and ran to the door. Tristan followed him to a secret passageway under a tile in the hall. John had a microwave and a fridge full of milk in a tunnel under the hospital. Have you been living down here? Tristan asked. John ignored him and started frantically preparing another cup of warm milk. Tristan broke the second cup before John had a chance to drink it, and John's look of horror transformed into anger. He lunged at Tristan and started strangling him. Tristan screamed and cried out for help, but he feared that no one would ever find him. He feared no one would find him in time, I'm sorry. The staff arrived at 3:01 a.m. to find Tristan drenched in warm milk. After reviewing the security footage from the hallway, it was decided that John was alive and Tristan was innocent. Tristan was finally free, but at what cost? The only reason that I paused is because I was trying to figure out. I said terror first, and then I said horror. So I might want to. I might want to edit that. To be clear, I am going to upload a full video of me. Once the story is fully wrapped up, and there's no chance I'll want to make any changes. I'm going to upload another video, newly recorded, of me just reading the whole thing in one go. So this is technically like a beta version that you're getting to hear, but nevertheless, I thought it would be fun to share it in 3 parts. Also gave me a deadline to wrap up the final chapter. So, oops. Hold on a second. Okay. Chapter 6, The Nightmare. Aiden was glad to hear from Tristan. Where have you been? I was starting to think you died. Tristan said, I almost did. Multiple times, actually. Aiden said, Are you serious? I'm all ears. What happened? Tristan said, Well, you're going to think I'm crazy. Can I tell you the truth? Aiden said, Of course. I know you wouldn't lie to me. I already knew you were crazy. Tristan laughed and said, I'm just going to say it, even if it sounds totally nuts. Basically, my grandpa tried to kill me with a blender, so I roasted him until he died somehow. But then a stab wound magically appeared in his chest and blood magically appeared on a knife, so everyone thought I lost my mind and murdered him. I was sent to a nut house where my grandpa had apparently been watching me sleep while drinking warm milk every night. I eventually caught him and chased him to his underground hideout where he tried to strangle me, and then he turned into warm milk for some reason. Everyone just thinks he dumped milk on me since he had a fridge full of it nearby, but the security footage only showed me chasing him into the tunnel, so all they can be sure of is that he's alive. The theory is that he faked his own death and tried to frame me for his murder. They're guessing his goal was to land me in that hospital so he could have me trapped or something, but no one really knows what to think, myself included. Aiden was speechless. So, you actually saw him turn into warm milk? Tristan said, Yes. Dude, I was covered in him. It was disgusting. Aiden said, You're really not messing with me. Tristan said, I really wish I was. I think about him every time I shower now. That milk was everywhere. Plus, I keep having this nightmare of him rubbing me while I'm paralyzed in that hospital bed from the nut house. Aiden said, Rubbing you? Do I want to know what that means? Tristan said, Okay, I hear how that sounds now. No, he's just rubbing my arms while staring at me. Sometimes he uses a moist washcloth. Aiden said, Come on, you know I hate that word. Why would you say it like that? Tristan said, Because I know you hate that word, and I wanted to emphasize how creepy it feels. Aiden said, Right, I got that. So, how long have you been having this dream? Tristan said, It started the same night he turned into warm milk. It's the same dream every night. Aiden said, Sorry, I'm having a hard time with all this. You're really asking me to believe that he turned into warm milk? Tristan said, Yes. He died the first time because I hurt his feelings. Then I think he died the second time because I stopped him from drinking warm milk before a certain time. Aiden said, But how is that possible? Tristan said, I'll let you know when I find out. For now, your guess is as good as mine. Besides, it's not the only thing I can't explain. He was always popping up in places he shouldn't have been able to get into. I know it seems like I'm just lying or crazy, but there's something wrong with him. I know that now. I know I'm not the problem. I've been convinced of that ever since he was proven to be alive on the security footage. Aiden said, I don't think you're lying. It just doesn't make any sense. But I believe you. I'm here for you. Tristan said, Thank you. I knew I could trust you. Aiden said, By the way, have you tried lucid dreaming to stop those nightmares? Tristan said, I actually completely forgot that was even a thing. Thank you, I'll try it out tonight. Tristan watched as John walked through the door, moist washcloth in hand, ready to do some rubbing. John rolled up his sleeves and got into position. Just as he was about to start, Tristan punched him in the face.
Ouch! My face!
John cried out in pain. Tristan said, Wow, it actually worked? I can finally move. John said,
But how? You're supposed to be paralyzed.
Tristan said, This is just a dream, and it's my dream. I can make anything happen, and I'm tired of dreaming about you. Tristan threw John across the room with his mind. John said,
I swear you get meaner every time I see you. You don't even need soup on the train anymore.
Suddenly, all the windows shattered and fire engulfed the room. A giant red hand with black fingernails reached in through the window and grabbed John.
Hey, what are you doing? Put me down,
John shouted. Tristan said, I'm not doing this, I swear. Maybe it's the universe finally delivering you some justice. John shouted,
Put me down, hand. You've got the wrong guy. I always let people help me study.
Tristan rolled his eyes and watched as the hand quickly yanked John into the flames. Tristan woke up and never thought of John again. In fact, he couldn't even remember him. So, that's the end of Chapter 6. Chapter 7 is called The Big Reveal, and it's long. But I'm not quite finished with it yet, so when I do finish up with Chapter 7, I'll post it here. And it has to be before... I can't say when I do, because I already made a schedule. I will post Chapter 7 1 week from today, Tuesday, April 30th, at noon. So, Eastern Time. So that's that. Hopefully you liked chapters 5 and 6, maybe even better than chapters 1 through 4. I thought the conversation with Aiden was kind of funny. I might go back and make some changes to the dialogue to make it sound maybe a little more natural, maybe add a couple things here and there. I'm not 100% sure, but I know that there are going to be some changes made before I post like the final version, and it'll be easier to make those changes after I have finished chapter 7. So that'll be done soon, and yeah, after I finish chapter 7, then I'll go back through and I'll maybe even send it to some friends to have them proofread it. I'll figure stuff out. I'll so I can't promise you a deadline for the big final version. But for now, you'll have this like beta version in 3 parts, and chapter 7 will be out next week. So hopefully you enjoy it so far. Hopefully you're excited for next week, and I hope to see you there. Have a great rest of your day or night, and I appreciate every like, comment, and subscription. I'm really trying to grow this channel, so any bit of interaction helps. Every comment, anything. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.